What's up guys, I'm Ben and this is Kame Trick. It's a channel where we hang out, and if you're hanging out with me, it probably involves drifting or at least cars. All over America and maybe the world, drifters everywhere are getting stoked because very soon their season is starting. If you're like me, your first event was maybe a couple weeks ago, and even if not, probably within the next month or so, your first event is coming up. And that's why today on Kame Trick, we're going to be showing how to pack your car for a drift event. So it's going to be a video checklist of all the essentials that you need. And I know that not all of you guys have trucks and trailer setups, so in this case, everything that I show you today is going to fit into an S chassis. The first thing that you want to do when you're prepping your car for a drift event is check all of the fluids and make sure everything under the hood looks good. To do that, check your radiator, power steering, oil, brake master cylinder, and clutch fluid, and ensure that they're all topped off. Next, you want to check your tire pressure, both for the tires on your car and for any drift spares that are already mounted that you're bringing to the event. Especially if you don't have access to an air compressor at the track, you're going to want to set your tire pressures a little higher than you actually intend to run them. That way, when you're actually at the track, you can reduce the pressures at the front or rear wheels and actually change the grip levels of the car. That'll let you have some control over the handling dynamics. So I always run my car 4 or 10 psi higher than I intend to at the end of the day. That way I have some flexibility to tune it. After that, you're going to want to do a bolt check. I can't cover everything in detail for that, but at minimum, you're going to check all of your lug nuts, make sure that they are tight. You want to check your suspension arms, you want to check your brake calipers, your drive shaft, and your half shafts. Really, you should check this every event. I'm kind of irresponsible and check mine every 2 or 3 events, but I can tell you, I've gone under there and found that I was missing like 2 half shaft bolts, and I had 2 more that were finger loose of the 6 that is on each side. And you certainly don't want to drop a half shaft when you're mid-drift and lose power. That could cause some very bad things, especially if you are leading a tandem train. So make sure that you check your bolts. And now that we've got those essentials out of the way, we can get on to packing. Here's what you want to bring. All right, now the first thing you're going to need are some gloves. And now that we have those, let's get to packing. I like to start with all the mechanical necessities that I'm going to need to fix and operate my car. I do that before I worry about anything like food, because I'm not going to be staying at the event if my car breaks. That's going to be the least of my worries. The other important thing is to worry about size. So personally, I pack the biggest items first to make sure that I don't have to rearrange anything later. So that's going to be the jack that you use, the tires as well. And you may want to consider bringing some type of ramps. Here's what I have. This is my selection. I actually need to mount tires for my next event, so you're going to have to make believe a little bit as far as the tire situation here, because I've got some burners and these 2 aren't even mounted. But you can fit up to 4 17s into a S chassis, at least an S13 hatch. Your jack of choice, I use this Harbor Freight. It's a lightweight aluminum jack, so it's not very heavy, but it is sufficient to lift the car even with the V8. And you really don't want to forget these guys, a couple of ramps of some sort, whether they're the blown plastic ramps, if you can find some low profile ones of those, or just build something out of wood. But you want to make it a little easier to get your jack up under the car and jack it up, especially if you decide to be a real badass and just drift until your tire pops, because you might find out when you get back to the pits that now that it's 2 or 3 inches shorter because the tire's flat, you can't fit your jack under the back jacking points anymore. So these are going to be our first steps. After this, we're going to want to look at our tool situation. And for me, that's going to mean crescent wrenches so that I can adjust my suspension arms and replace tie rod ends if I need to, a selection of sockets, a needle nose plier, and some sort of cutting plier for zip ties. This is what my selection looks like for these parts. My big pro tip for this section is highly consider investing in one of these box sets. The reason is it's made from injection molded plastic, and every tool has its place. Also, they're very compact. That's going to save you a lot of time packing your stuff up, and you can tell at a very quick glance whether or not you're missing, say, your 10mm socket. If it's not in its spot, you know you've left it in the garage. Unlike something like this, where everything is loose and flopping around. You're going to have to spend more time packing it and more time checking it to make sure that something you thought you had buried in the bottom isn't actually on the floor back at the house. That said, I do use this for my big loose tools like these crescent wrenches, some screwdrivers, and the needle nose and cutter pliers. This almost wraps up all of the mechanical essentials that we need to perform first aid on the car at the track. We're going to add in the last couple of things. That's going to be your oils, everything that we checked under the hood. It's also going to be zip ties, and don't ever forget your car keys, of course, and your helmet so that you can drive. Anything that you need there as far as closed-toed shoes, stuff of that nature, check your track's tech specifications to learn those rules. So you can see I've got my helmet up here, zip ties, the lifeblood of any real drifter, and all of our fluids. So we have oil, coolant. I actually need to get power steering. Apparently I'm out of power steering. Gear oil and brake fluid. I did also toss in a funnel and a towel set, which is always very convenient if you have to use any of these oils. You may also want to throw in a couple of jack stands depending on what kind of work you think you'll need to do. I'm usually just changing tires and I don't tend to bother with those at the events. I just watch where I keep my hands. That covers everything that you need to do drift car first aid. And I'll tell you, it's very handy to have all of this gear. In fact, I use something out of all the stuff that I've just showed you guys probably every other or every third event, and most of the time it's to help a buddy out so that they can stay on track instead of having to waste an hour and go to the parts store and run back. So the more that you bring and having a nice complete kind of basic kit like this, the easier it'll be for you and everybody else, because at a drift event you guys are going to help each other out. It's a great time, but the more people that are prepared, the easier it is for everybody. That covers all of our essentials. After that, it's onto kind of like creature comforts. So that's going to be your sunblock, some sort of sun hat, and maybe some long sleeves like I wear. I know they look crazy, but they're actually made of a super light material and they're incredibly comfortable. It doesn't feel like I'm hardly wearing a shirt. I don't have to put sunscreen anywhere except just my face. And I'm super lazy, so that works for me because I don't want cancer. But do what works for you in the sun department. I'll show you some of the things that I have. And then after that, it's basically like food, water, things of that nature. So we'll lay that out now. This wraps up my kit that I bring to drift events. I've got my cooler with some cold beverages and some snacks. I have some SPF 50, which I hear when mixed with tire dust creates roughly SPF 1000. It works great. Might bring a hat, preferably something with like a neck shade. You guys know that I wear these crazy long sleeve things. These are awesome though. Just look up like sun shirt, long sleeve sun shirt, and you can find them. They're so light, they're very comfortable. You'd have to try it before you could knock it. But if that's not your style, a new thing that I picked up, because I'm always doing these crazy things, are actually what you see a lot of the professional photographers wearing. And these let you wear a short sleeve shirt, but still get out of having to cover your arms, like so. So this is going to protect you from the sun, and it also has the benefit of making you look like a pro wrestler so you can drop a people's elbow on somebody. Not really. Last but not least, and this is a quirk unique to me, I actually bring a water sprayer to the events as well, and I use that to both cool my engine by spraying the radiator down, and also, why am I still wearing this? And also, if you spray the rear tires down, it will keep them cool and they'll last longer, but that's a subject for a whole different video. Thank you guys for watching. I hope this has been helpful and informative, and I hope you get off to an excellent season. If you want to hang out more and you're in Oklahoma, come to Stroud on March 23rd. Hop in the car, come for a ride with me. I'll show you firsthand how fun drifting is. And if you're from further around, please subscribe, like, and share this video out with your friends to help us grow the channel. If you're into sim drifting, you can join in for that too. I just opened up a new Facebook group, Kame Sim Drifting Crew. Thank you guys for watching. Have a good night. Peace.